G'day guys, welcome to the Unofficial Scorecard Podcast, the podcast where we talk all things boxing and occasionally the wider world of combat sports. This is episode 74, and out of that intro, the word occasionally is rather poignant, being that this has become a very occasional pod, but we're coming off a 4-month break, so we're literally, I had to dust down the microphone I'm recording this on, literally had to wipe dust off it, so yeah guys, more on that in the outro if you even make it that far or care. But today guys, we are joined by the ABS himself, El Polo Loco, the Aussie Boxing Scribe, and the all-time Clubhouse TUSC Pod appearance leader, Anthony Cox, making it, by my count, his 25th appearance. So absolutely in the lead by a country mile, but that's just a reflection of how much I enjoy talking to Anthony and how much I enjoy soaking up his knowledge, and I'm sure you guys do too. So guys, what did we get into? It's been a long time since the last pod. We had to leave a lot on the cutting room floor, but everyone listening to this pod's a huge Sam the Ghost Goodman fan, so we had to get into Sam's world title challenge against Nick Ball coming up this weekend for the WBA featherweight world title. We also spoke about the rest of that card headlined by Moses Itauma and Dillian Whyte. There's also some news with Andrew Moloney with his world title eliminator that was coming up on the weekend, or was it? We also had to turn the clock back a little bit, guys, and have a look at Tim Tszyu's loss against Sebastian Fundora in the rematch. So excellent performance from Liam Paro in his comeback. The Liam Wilson Jimenez somewhat controversial result. Some recent results from Floyd, Masson, Callum Peters, and the like. We also look ahead to a few domestic shows, the return of Jake Wiley, and we finish it up with obviously having to chat about Canelo and Bud Crawford, and on the same day, we're Inoue and Inoue V Akhmadaliev. It's a loaded schedule, guys. Had tons of fun, as I always do, talking to Anthony, so let's keep this short and get to that now. All right, well, here I am after a long delay, which is actually the second delay of today, the second time we've tried this, but I take full responsibility. Back with the Aussie Boxing Scribe himself, the all-time TUSC Pod Clubhouse leader, Anthony Cox. But I've just got a question straight off the bat I just thought of, Tone.
Sure.
Do you know, I counted before, do you know what number appearance this is on the TUSC for you?
I want to say 23.
Oh, I counted 25.
Oh, I was close to the pin.
Mate, quarter century. Congrats.
Which wouldn't be a good cricket score, but...
And you have wasted a lot of time talking to me, so I apologise, but we're going to do it again.
Why not?
Right. Let's get into it. All right, mate. We're huge Ghost fans.
Well, you're the one who christened him the Ghost, mate.
It was born on this pod on one of your previous 24 appearances. But obviously we've got a big one. I'll set it up. Sam Goodman moving up a weight class to featherweight to challenge Nick Ball for the WBA featherweight world title. We sort of spoke on the phone a little bit the other night, but we didn't reveal our true thoughts. So I'll throw it over to you first thing, Coxie. What were your thoughts when this fight first got announced, and have they changed now that we're only a couple of days away?
I'm liking it more and more. The question for me is whether Sam Goodman can keep Ball off him for long enough. We all know he's a volume puncher, and he's going to be right on your chest, Jeff Fenech sort of style, throwing a lot of punches. Not the biggest puncher, but can make it uncomfortable for his opponents. And we saw it with Ray Salim as well, where he had a mover who, I wouldn't say shut down, but he just out-volume punched him. And the question for me is whether Sam Goodman can throw enough hard shots and show enough movement to keep him on the edge of the end of his punches. I think that's really the question for me, along with the move up in weight. It's in a lighter weight classes, moving up in weight is always a difficult thing. It's it's might only be a few pounds, but percentage wise, it's a lot of weight there.
Yeah, and I think they're totally valid concerns to have straight off the bat. That was one of the first things I thought of as well. I was like, oh, wow, getting an opportunity at featherweight. I mean, I still like his odds better there than at Super Bantam against Inoue, so it totally makes sense. But then I remembered, and this was a number of years ago, and obviously the caliber of fighter he was up against is very different. But when COVID sort of shut everything down in Australia, do you remember he fought Daniel Carr at lightweight?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
Yeah. And like, I'm not saying Daniel Carr is world level, but I believe he was like 6-3 at the time, something like that. He was a pretty handy domestic fighter, and a natural lightweight. And Sam didn't look to be, physically bullied around or anything like that. Again, very different levels with respect to Daniel Carr. But so that was the first thing that sort of planted in my mind. I was like, wow. And then Sam immediately went down to 122 straight after that. So he had no problem putting the weight on, or maybe just not losing weight and then jumping back down. Didn't have the Roy Jones effect long term or anything like that. Then I remembered that with the TJ Doheny fight, I couldn't quite remember the size difference there. I thought it'd be a good reference with that being Nick Ball's last opponent.
Sure.
So I went back and had a look, and Sam was comfortably like a lot taller and longer than TJ Doheny, who was actually taller and longer than Nick Ball. So Sam's moving up a weight class, but at least from, looking at some old fights and weigh-in photos and stuff like that, I'm pretty unconcerned with the move up in weight. I think Sam's going to be the bigger guy. As you pointed out, he's not the puncher, and neither is Nick Ball really. But in this contest, you'd think Ball is going to be the physically more imposing guy with the harder shot. But in terms of Sam being bullied at the weight, I'm not concerned at all. Do you sort of harbour any fears for Sam in that respect?
Only with the volume of Nick Ball. That's when you get kind of caught trying to think about what your next move is, and the next thing you know, you're copping a left hook, you're copping a right hand over the top. That would be my concern, not skill for skill, if that makes sense. Just being able to evade punches and punch back effectively, and not be overwhelmed there. And we know that Nick Ball can go for 12 rounds at a high volume pace. That's where my biggest concern is. I'm not so concerned about the size, because I think you're absolutely right. I think you certainly got the height and the reach there to go with it, the Ghost. But whether he can weather that, particularly the early storm, say through the first 4 rounds, whether he can, just on sheer volume coming from Nick Ball, that's where questions will be answered.
Yeah, that's true. And obviously I'm as biased as it gets in terms of every time there's an Aussie in the ring, and I'm always just trying to explore ways that the Aussie can have success. I'm biased as hell, but I put my hands up and admit it. I'm not saying I'm not. But having said that, I still do try to look at matchups like Fighter A, Fighter B silhouettes as much as possible. I really do. And I tried for this one, and this is probably just my bias coming through, but hey, man, I truly believe it. I reckon Sam's feet win him this fight, and I think they win him this fight rather easily. I mean, if you had to think of a guy who's, we called Sam the Ghost because he's standing right in front of you, but you just don't know where it is. His in and out movement is so good. That's his main source of defense. He doesn't really slip punches and move his head a lot, but it's that in and out movement. I can envisage Nick Ball sort of loading up. He swings wild. He's off balance. He doesn't have the fastest feet, just falling short every time. Sam's got to be on his A game, as you pointed out, because this is a dangerous fight. But I can envisage Sam just having an absolute field day. So if I'm thinking Fighter A, we won't be disrespectful, the A side, Nick Ball, short and stocky for the weight. Not a massive puncher, but very physically imposing. Not the greatest footwork, not the fastest volume, as you said, likes to throw in volume. And then we've got Fighter B, who's incredibly fleet of foot, incredibly elusive when he wants to be, and clearly the better technical boxer. Well, I'm picking the technical boxer all day, every day. I mean, again, that's my bias coming out, but trying to take the bias out of it. I love this fight for Sam. And I think he can win like 10-2, 11-1. I don't think he's going to hurt Nick Ball at all, but I'm massive on Sam on this, and I could be epically wrong, but this is probably the best matchup at either weight class he could get, I think.
Well, certainly a lot better than Inoue. I guess the question is, Sam might even be better at the weight, without having to drain himself down. Like everyone talks about fighters moving up in weight, and we all do it, but oftentimes we see boxers become, I wouldn't say stronger, but without having to kill themselves to make the weight, that they can grow an extra leg and go, okay, my strength is going to match your strength. And I don't know if that's the case with Sam. I don't know if that old cut from that saw him pull out of the Inoue fight is going to be a factor. I don't know how well that's healed. I mean, it was quite a few months ago now, but once you've got scar tissue there, that could be anything too.
No, I didn't even take that into account. That could be a massive factor. Wow. I did not even think of that all these weeks. Never even occurred to me. Yeah, that's certainly something to be, that's a great point, something to be worried about for sure. I would love to know the real story. It's so interesting that it never came out. Like, we kind of have a few tiny little details here and there, but wow, I would love to know exactly how all that went down. The second time, mainly. But yeah, I guess there's probably a reason they don't want that getting out, and fair enough too. But
well, so, according to Nick Ball, it was one of his gym mates that opened up that cut.
Oh, that's right. They had him over there. Yeah, but I would just love to know the second time how he got cut again.
Yep.
Like, how does that? Yeah, man. I mean, look, things happen, and boxing's a hard luck sport. I get it, but I would love to know like the actual story of just how that happened, just out of interest, because that's man, it was a bad look. I mean, unfortunate look. I'm not blaming anyone, but yeah, I would love to know. But how do you sort of see the style clash go, Coxy? I'm pretty bullish on Sam here. I think it's a classic bull and a matador, and I love the matador's chances in this one. Do you kind of seeing it going that way, or do you think Sam's going to have to get through a bit of adversity here as well in spots?
I definitely think he's going to have to get through adversity. And Nick Ball can be a bit rough on the inside too, if that makes sense. Yeah. He's not afraid to, again, a little bit like Fennick, and not afraid to rough up a bloke, wrestle them, and maybe even be just a little bit reckless with the head.
And the legs. Kicking blokes in the back of their thighs when they're not looking and stuff.
John Wayne Parr would be proud.
Yeah, true. But how bad was that ref, mate? If that happens in any other country, that's like an instant disqualification or a minimum 2-point deduction. The ref's just like, come on, Nick. Come on, mate.
And herein lies the rub too. Like, you're going overseas to fight, and Australians don't have a great record in world title fights overseas. So those little 1%ers that are go in your favour at home potentially go the other way, and probably go the other way.
Yeah.
So it's a bigger mountain to climb for Sam Goodman than what it would be if they got Nick Ball out here.
Yeah, that's true. Do you factor? Well, Saudi Arabia, I mean, is kind of neutral territory, but I believe it's all run by the British Boxing Board of Control, isn't it?
Correct, yep.
So it's most likely going to be an English ref. I'd be pretty confident there'd be neutral judges. I don't know that for sure, but I would say it would be an English ref, which is fraught with disaster. Do you see the location or the officiating sort of maybe rearing its ugly head at any point?
Geez, I hope not. But yeah. Mickey Van sends his regards.
Okay, I don't get the reference.
British referee refereed a lot of Hatton's fights.
Oh, okay. I try not to remember their names.
Yeah, look, hopefully it's not a factor. At the end of the day, all we want to see is a good fight, and a good, fair fight. If there's a little bit of, leaning one way or the other, that's one thing. But the last thing we want to see is a fight that gets decided by the officials in terms of close rounds go the wrong way, the referee not looking at the A side rather than the B side, and sort of doing favours for the promoter there. It's it'll be an interesting one. All things being equal, I think it's a very, very square fight.
Okay, well,
But
you think of 50-50 or?
on paper, yeah.
Okay.
But on paper and what happens in the ring are two different things.
Yeah. Yeah. So what are you expecting to see?
A very tough and rugged first 4 rounds from Nick Ball. Goodman trying to stand off and pump that jab and use his footwork. We know he doesn't have a great deal of lateral movement, but he can control the distance and the range. If he can get through those first 4 rounds and keep it somewhere near square, I reckon he's live.
Yeah.
Okay. I reckon he's live. And I also reckon that Nick Ball might be overlooking him a little bit for the big money fights down the track. Waiting for Inoue to move up or whoever. But yeah, no, it's our boy's very live in this one, I reckon.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Oh, I'm super confident. I mean, but I don't want to be too cocky either because, Sam does hold his chin high. He always has. Yes. I thought maybe that was something early in his career that he might change that posture up a little bit, but he does hold that chin high, and his hands are a little bit loose. They're not exactly. If you hold your chin high, but you got you glued either side, you can kind of get away with it. But when you're a little bit loose and your chin's high, there are openings, and he is incredibly reliant on that in and out footwork as his defense rather than slipping and blocking with the shoulders and hands. So there is that opening always with Sam. That's why I was really scared about the Inoue fight because Inoue was going to find it. There's no doubt about it. You give him a gap like that, he's going to find it. But yeah, with Nick Ball, I just don't think he has the speed or, to be honest, the IQ. Like he's not going to outbox Sam. He can outfight him. And he might be able to catch him. And if Sam gets caught, that's where the trouble lies. And there is that opening. I just don't think Nick Ball is going to be able to do it. Again, that could be my bias, but I think Sam's going to be too big, too long, too fast, and just too fleet of foot. But yeah, every time I get cocky enough to start betting on fights, we lose big time. The Aussies, whoever I've bet on. So I'm staying off the punt. But yeah, I really like Sam big in this. As long as he doesn't do anything reckless or get too aggressive. Again, our favourite quote from one of our favourite pundits, at least when it comes to boxing, Paulie Malignaggi. In boxing, you have to know what you are and you have to know what you're not. And I hope Sam realises, or I hope he does turn into a puncher, but I don't think that's going to happen, especially at this weight. But yeah, hopefully he just doesn't get carried away, doesn't overcommit, doesn't get flat-footed for too long, because that's when Ball's going to come out with these wild shots from unorthodox angles. If Sam boxes, I can't see him losing.
Well, riddle me this, Batman.
Yeah.
Do you think Sam Goodman should box purely off the back foot or try and put something on him early?
No, Sam has being categorized as like a back foot mover. He's really not. He's in guys' faces. He comes forward. He stands in front of you and puts the pressure on and feints, and he draws things out of you to be able to counter. So I don't see it being any different. He's the more physically bigger guy. As you pointed out, another 4 pounds up in weight can only help. I think he's going to be fresh. Yeah, I think he's going to fight like he always does. I think he's going to just be coming forward slightly, just putting the pressure on Ball, keeping him slightly on that back foot, not giving away any ground, which Sam never really does anyway. But his in and out movement, again, he's the ghost. He can see it coming. He can draw it out. He's fought faster fighters. Really, the only way I see Nick Ball landing something of significant consequence is being either really unorthodox, Sam getting too cocky, or a bit of both. But yeah, I really like Sam in this fight. I think we're going to have another world champ. But what do you reckon, mate? How do you see Sam approaching this particular matchup?
Yeah, look, the question is going to be whether Ball can back up Goodman. To me, that'll be the story of the fight. If you can back him up, then it's a different fight. If Sam can stay in the pocket, slip and move and step off on those angles, then he's very much live in this. I know there's been a lot of talk about Nick Ball picking on smaller fighters. I don't reckon Goodman's a smaller fighter.
Not at all. No, he's
I
significantly bigger.
Yeah, and not just taller, but I think he'll carry the weight up fine.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
I'm not concerned about that at all, really. It's just going to be about maintaining that momentum, particularly through the first half of the fight, and then hopefully coming on late.
Yeah. So what's the ultimate prediction, Cuppers?
The Ghost by TKO 1.
Like clockwork. How did I know that was coming?
No,
well, fingers crossed. Hopefully that does happen. But
no, geez, you put me in a tough spot here. Anytime I try to predict a fight, I'm a little bit like you, Zach.
Mate, we always get it wrong, but we're just having a chat.
I think Sam can win on points.
Do you think he will?
Good question.
All right. Well, I'm going out on the limb. I like Sam big time for all the reasons I've just mentioned. So I can see the first round being real cagey, maybe the second, but then I just see Sam pulling away. The ultimate matador, feet too good. I like Sam by 10 or 11 rounds.
I'm going to go the other way. I'm going to go Nick Ball by late stoppage.
Okay.
I just think there's an underrated tenacity about Ball that, despite him not having the best footwork or the biggest punch or anything else, I think his work rate will be the difference.
Yep.
And I hope I'm wrong.
Yeah, no, it could absolutely be the case. Man, one of the rare times that we differ on a fight prediction. Historically, we're always pretty in line, but that might be our biggest differential ever.
We're not going to be friends again.
Oh, absolutely not. 25 and done, mate, after that prediction. But, mate, a lot has been said about this card, and I'm not exactly sure of the fight order because BoxRec always lists it out of whack. But, yeah, I don't know. It doesn't. Obviously, I'm super interested, and we are, and as Australians, we've got a massive interest in Sam and Nick Ball. But outside of that, besides sort of Moses Itauma and Dillian Whyte, which kind of has a bit of a freak show appeal to it, I can't say I'm really fired up to the level that they're kind of trying to sell this mega card as, especially as a pay-per-view. I think they've kind of missed the mark there. What are your thoughts on the rest of the card, mate? Am I missing something? Is there a particular fight on the card that, or two or three that you're excited about?
Well, knowing how much of a fan of the heavyweights you are.
Yes, historically, big fan.
Yes. No, look, Ray Ford versus Nova, maybe a passing interest in.
Yep.
But yeah, really outside of that, I don't see a lot on that card. That certainly not as a pay-per-view.
Yeah.
Certainly not as a pay-per-view. And I know they're trying to push Itauma as the next big heavyweight hope, which is fine. Good luck to you. I'm not a heavyweight guy any more than you are.
Yeah, fair enough.
And that's not enough for me to I mean, I'll be buying it, of course, because it's got our boy Sam Goodman on there. But yeah, outside of that, it's a difficult sell, I would have thought.
Yeah, no, I agree. There is one fighter. There's from Japan with a lot of hype. Hayato Tsutsumi is fighting a guy, Quace Ashfaq. And as I haven't done a pod for a while, and really the main reason is I haven't watched a lot of fights lately. I've just been distracted with other things. But I've kind of missed this Hayato Tsutsumi. Have you caught any of? Apparently, Turkey's taken a big liking to him. He's fought on a couple of Saudi Arabia cards. Have you seen him, mate? Is there any? Can you fill me in on what his go is?
Well, he was out here sparring the Moloney boys. Like a year ago.
Okay.
Yeah. So the Moloney twins know him very well and rate him very highly, and they got him out here for I want to say a year ago, something like that.
Okay.
Tidy operator, and just well drilled, like all of the Japanese boxers are. So So that's probably the other fight on that card that if I was going to put my hand up and say, I'm interested to see this, that'd be the one.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll definitely be marking that down and waking up early for that. And as the pro you are, Tone, perfect segue, because what we were going to be getting this weekend was Andrew Moloney, fighting in an IBF eliminator in Mexico against Argy Cortez. That, as of a couple of hours ago from time of recording, has been postponed, and I believe Andrew is already back in Australia. I have no idea what's happened. I just saw the post that Andrew was leaving, and apparently now he's back. Is there any background to the situation that you know about that you can maybe share with us, or are you as in the dark as us?
No, look, I only know what I've read online as well. The date kept getting pushed back, and then the venue kept getting pushed back as well. So part of the reason, as far as I understand, is that Andrew's mum was turning 60, and they had the fight scheduled for whatever it was, 3-4 weeks ago. Date got pushed back, then the venue got changed, and he was going to miss his mum's 60th, and he just went, nah, this is the one chance that my mum turned 60, and I want to be home for her birthday. But it was more so about the change of venue and the constant fucking around. You fuck them around once, okay. You fuck them around twice, we'll try and work with you. You fuck me around 3 times, I'm coming home.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, when you put it like that, hard to argue with. Obviously I didn't know those personal details, but yeah, such a shame because that was a great fight on paper, a tough fight. Argy Cortez is so tough, man. That was going to be a ripper of a little fight, but yeah, wow, that's such a shame. It's the Maloneys have just found themselves in these type of, maybe not this particular type of situation, but just such undesirable positions in their careers so many times. Like for guys that are so dedicated, that never put a foot wrong, that are gentlemen, that are great role models, that, they do everything right, and they just seem to find themselves, in these kind of undesirable situations more often than most fighters. It's just amazing. Unfortunate, but geez, you just think about all that money for the training camp and that's such a bugger, such an emotional and physical letdown too. Like, damn. But what would you be advising Andrew to do from here? He's obviously was in fight week, presumably almost at weight, peak fitness, or that type of thing. Do you think you're better off at this point in time having a couple of weeks off, mentally refreshing to avoid burnout, or would you be trying to sort of double down and get something real quick and capitalize on the hard work that's been done and the physical shape he's in at the moment? Like, there's kind of a double-edged sword, but what would you kind of be hoping that he would do?
I certainly know Andy and Jason as well like to stay busy. Whether there's something else on the table locally or internationally, I don't know. But when a training camp gets dragged out by 3 weeks or whatever it is, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, probably a freshen up would probably help. And yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if they're back in. Certainly, Andy's back in the ring sooner rather than later.
Yeah,
I don't think he's going to want to waste this camp.
Mm.
And they're not like the Charlos where they take years off at a time. That's
or Keith Thurman.
Or Keith Thurman, yeah.
Our boy one time. Got to watch those toes, baby. But mate, we've got another. Yeah, well, best of luck to Andrew in an unfortunate situation. Obviously, hopefully, whatever path appears for him next will be the right one. huge Moloney fan on this pod. Mate, we've got Dylan Biggs fighting tomorrow night in Saudi Arabia, actually in the quarterfinals of the WBC middleweight tournament. He's made it to the final 8 with 2 6-round decisions. I caught the first one. I did not catch the second fight, unfortunately. I've missed an absolute ton of fights the last couple of months. That's why I haven't done the pod. But, mate, this is pretty big for Dylan. Like, I'm not sure globally how prestigious or how big this WBC tournament is, but I mean, I just look at it as at base level, undefeated international opponents fighting internationally, got to be a positive for the career in the long run. And you're also winning. This is a great experience at bare minimum in my book. How do you sort of grade this WBC tournament in terms of development for a fighter like Dylan?
It's a great opportunity. It's probably one of those ones where you say, okay, I'm going to get more out of this through winning it or being thereabouts than what I will out of not participating. And he's probably at that level where he needs that international exposure. That a big win on a card like this opens a lot of doors. And I think he's as good as anyone in that comp. I really think it's a door-opening opportunity for him. And hopefully he comes through with flying colours. And if not, if he loses a close one, he loses a close one. Doesn't really matter too much, as long as you get your name out there on that international stage.
Yeah. I think it's been a great move for them. I'm not sure how it materialised, if it was offered to them, if his management or training staff sort of chased it when it was announced. I don't know the particulars in that respect, but regular fights, a couple of 6-rounders every 2 months. Mate, I love it. I think it's only going to be a positive for him. His opponent is Petro Frolov, who I had never heard of, but according to BoxRec, is a Ukrainian living in Turkey. He's 12-1-0 with 4 knockouts. Doesn't seem to be on paper the most dangerous guy. So again, I've never seen him. I can't really give a fair assessment of him, but at least according to BoxRec, it wouldn't appear like Dylan's being thrown to the wolves.
No.
Like you got to get 12 wins and, you're from Ukraine, so you're probably pretty handy. But it certainly doesn't seem to be like an epically dangerous sort of type of fight for Dylan. I'm sure him and his team know they have to be cautious about, but I think they're free on DAZN. If I can stay awake that long, I might have to tune in.
Why not?
Or as you always pointed out too, mate, the beauty of DAZN is you can just watch it on demand later. So
that's right.
Yeah, but no, best of luck to Dylan. That's super exciting. Going to be hopefully a good week for the Aussies. Unfortunate for Andrew, but if we can get 2 wins on the board with Dylan and Sam Goodman, that's one hell of a good week internationally for us. But I guess we have to rip the Band-Aid off, Coxie. And you've already done it before I have. But yeah, it sort of has to be addressed. Tim Tszyu's loss in the rematch with Sebastian Fundora. You had an excellent appearance on Lyndon Hosking's Boxing Deep Dive show, where you guys spoke about it sort of in the aftermath pretty candidly, which I certainly appreciated. And as a fan, and probably as most Aussies were, a lot of us were feeling the same way. I thought you really contextualized it really well in terms of not career ending, but certainly things need to be rectified. A couple of weeks on, have you sort of, with a little bit more time and perspective, have you changed your initial thoughts, or are you still sort of on that same bandwagon?
Look, I guess the question at the end of the day is, where does he go from here? I don't think Fundora is the matchup for him, and Fundora outfought him in the first fight on the inside and outfought him in the rematch on the outside. Apart from a move up to middleweight, it's hard to see a path through for Tim Tszyu for a world title fight. Middleweight's quite a empty division in terms of who the champions are and everything else. There might be an opportunity up there, but he's 5'8". He's or or 5'8.5", whatever he is, he's not the biggest bloke at 154, let alone at middleweight. So, yeah, a lot of decisions have to be made there, and I'm not sure what the right one is.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. Yeah, I was just in not shock, but yeah, I don't know. It's really difficult to not try and kick someone when they're down. I mean, it shouldn't be difficult. Oh, you try not to, right? But again, as biased as I am, anyone that carries an Australian flag, I'm barracking for, and I'm going to be biased as hell every time. But I try to look at it like with the Sam and Nick Ball fight, fighter A, fighter B, just blank silhouettes as much as possible, you know? And Tim got rocked hard in the first round, and most likely very similar to the Murders-Aliev fight. He was never the same after the first knockdown, and that's absolutely totally fair. I've never been a world championship level fighter who has been rocked by another world champion level fighter, so I have no experience in that. I can't comment on it, but I would certainly believe it, and I'm sure it's happened before, and it seems plausible that happened to Tim. But if we're going fighter A, fighter B, the way he got dropped when he's fighting a guy with so much reach, he lunged in as an orthodox fighter. He lunged in, leaped in with his chin in the air, moved his right hand in front of him as he was throwing the left hook. He just served himself up on a platter, you know, and credit to Fundora, snapped it up immediately and took it off the plate. I just couldn't believe so early. And again, I don't want to kick him when he's down, but that is a basic day one, week one in the gym before you even have a fight mistake that the trainer tells you about. Hey mate, you're moving that arm, you're moving that hand when you throw. I believe your mate Jimmy Slatter picked me up on that when I was 13. I'd been in his gym about 3 weeks. I just couldn't believe he made that mistake. I mean, Justice Hooney did almost an identical thing when Fabio Wardley caught him, but at least he'd been fighting for half an hour and at heavyweight at a pretty good pace. He was pretty tired, the mental fatigue as well as the physical. But like Tim did it fresh. Like, again, I'm not trying to kick him when he's down, but you're an elite level world-class fighter and you're making a mistake like that in the first 2 minutes. That's alarming. Like that's a serious red flag. I'm not blaming his team at all. Maybe, you know, it's like any sport. The coach can say, all right, number 22, pass the ball to number 13 when you get halfway across the field, and then they just don't do it, you know? So I'm not trying to play the blame game in that respect, but I just couldn't believe such a basic technical flaw could be committed so early in such an important fight. Am I overstating it, Coxy? Or
no?
All these weeks later, I'm still just shocked that he did that, you know?
I don't reckon you are. And the question is, at the kid's 30. He's not a pup anymore. How can he have carried that flaw through his entire career, and how can you change it, or can you change it? That's really where the question lies. He's always going to be fighting blokes who are taller than him. He's 5'8.5". He's not the biggest bloke at the weight, and they're only going to get bigger if he moves up in weight. So it's a real difficult question to answer. I don't know the answer to it. I don't know if that fundamental flaw can be remedied, or if it's can be with there for the rest of his career. Obviously, he's got a big name and he's made a good profile for himself. But yeah, it's a tough one. It's a very tough one.
Yeah, it's just like, and it just, even before the fight was over, just even during that round break, it just really reiterated in my head just how important the basics are.
Yep.
And they're important at every level. You know, they're important for novices because that's all you can rely on sometimes. You don't have the experience, you know, but it's even important at the world-class top level. Like, you know, and I can't remember who it was, if they said it, you know, in real life, or I saw a YouTube clip or something, and I'm paraphrasing, but some, you know, noteworthy boxing person somewhere in the world at some point in time, you know, said, you know, it's all well and good to break the rules, but you have to know what the rules are before you can break them.
Yep.
And you have to master the basics. If you're going to go away from the basics, that's fine. in boxing, everything works and everything doesn't work. So you can go away from the basics if it doesn't work, but there's going to be one night or one round or some point in time where you better hope that all those thousands of hours you spent holding your hands up going like that are going to be, the muscle memory is going to kick in, and you're just going to be able to instantly defend yourself when you can't feel your legs. And there's a bloody foghorn just going off in your temple every 2 seconds and your head's pounding, you know? It seems to me like Tim never spent the time learning the basics. And when he needed them the most, he didn't have it. You know, again, I don't want to be too grandiose or kick the guy while he's down, but and I don't know who that's down to, but you know, they spent a lot of time when the team was flying high talking about the zoo boxing system. You know, they do it a little differently. Yep. This is our style. This is, you know, we're not just the up and down boxers. It's the zoo system. You know, I've spoken to people on this pod from, you know, that had a lot to do with Costa and the team now that talk about the zoo boxing system with complete reverence. And, you know, I'm not saying it doesn't work. Tim's a world champion and a millionaire. It worked, you know, but the difference between him is he had 30 amateur fights and his dad had 258 or whatever. You know, just that wealth of experience, you know, and Kostya needed the basics sometimes too and didn't use them. But in his later career, part of his career, he was able to correct it. It's going to be interesting to see if Tim either can or wants to. I hope he does. Like when Tim's flying, it's great for Australian boxing. But as you pointed out, it's a really difficult guessing game to figure out where he goes from here. I mean, I know exactly what they're going to do. He's going to come back and fight Zerafa on pay-per-view. There's absolutely no doubt about that. But, you know, and, mate, watching that fight, who do you reckon the most happiest man in the world was? Could you imagine Zerafa sitting on his couch going, oh, show me the money, let's go.
Make it rain, baby.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it's certainly going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how Nikita performs as well. Obviously, he's his own man, but, you know, seeing what's happened to your brother a couple of times, he's been even more reckless than Tim. You know, does 100%. He get back to that southpaw boxer that he was in the amateurs a little bit more, or does he keep trying to be the butcher? It's a real big crossroads, not only for Tim, but, you know, Nikita's sort of implicated by, you know, proximity too, and then also the wider team. Not that I'm saying there should be a moratorium on the team, but you know, maybe would an outside voice, maybe not like a total team change, but just bringing someone else into the camp for a couple of weeks at a time, maybe going to another established trainer's gym for a month, you know, for the first month of camp or something like that. Would these type of things be something you'd be interested to see the team and Tim take on, Tone?
Yeah, I think so. I think there's opportunities there for them to explore other avenues. Here's the thing: Tim Tszyu has trained out of Las Vegas at the Split T gym over there. So it's not like he hasn't seen other trainers. It's not like he hasn't seen the way other boxers train. So is it about teaching an old dog new tricks that doesn't want to learn them, or he's very much set in Igor's way, the Russian style of boxing there, and nothing's going to waver him from the way they go about their business. I think he's at a stage of his career where he needs to start looking at those outside influences, whether it's things he picks up in the gym or things he picks up from an additional trainer coming in. I don't know anything about Igor in terms of how open he would be for that, but that would definitely be something I'd be looking at. Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't even say Tim has like a Russian style. It's kind of like their own thing that they do their own way. That's why I always thought Tim was very different to Kostya. Very different. I was always surprised when people would say he looks like Kostya, but in terms of style, I never thought they were similar at all. And I was also surprised when, you know, like, again, our boy Paulie Malignaggi and even Chris Algieri on Pro Box, you know, after the Tony Harrison fight, was saying Tim was the most fundamentally sound Australian fighter they've ever seen.
That was wild.
Yeah, and I'm like, really? Like, I'm not saying he's not world class. At a point in time, I thought he was the best in the division. But the most fundamentally sound. That seemed a stretch to me, but they know more than I do, so I don't know.
But no, it certainly seemed like they were stitching a few things together there, saying, well, he's Australian royalty and everything else. But Opataya, Liam Paro, far more fundamentally sound.
Both Maloneys. Far more fundamentally sound. Did any of besides Jai and Liam to a degree, but like Tim has his attributes which made him one of the best in the world. And he probably still is. He's just had a couple of rough trots. But I kind of look at it like, not necessarily a moratorium on the entire team and a full clean out or anything like that. But I just kind of liken it to, I don't know anything about cars. So if my car starts running pox and I know something's wrong with it, but I don't know what it is, and I take it to a mechanic and he goes, oh yeah, it's this particular part. And I'm like, I don't know about that, man. So I take it to another mechanic and they say, no, it's this part. And then I go to a third mechanic and he goes, yeah, I agree with the last mechanic. It's that part, not the other one. I'd be going, okay, well, at the bare minimum, now I've got an indication of people with a different set of eyes that have looked over this thing and they've both come to the same conclusion. So maybe it is that particular part. So I'm sort of thinking maybe just spending time in other gyms informally, especially in this period between fights. Like, once he's physically able to sort of get back in the gym and hit the bags and do pads with some, and take Igor with him. They should travel together.
Yeah.
Invite people. I don't know what their relationship like with Jeff is like these days. I mean, seems to be pretty tenuous with most people, Jeff, but I don't know whether he'd be welcome in the gym. But I mean, maybe Alfie DiCarlo would want to come down and just have a look, or, spend some time up at Alfie's gym, just travel around and just get some other people's opinions. You don't have to give them 10% of your next paycheck and have them in the corner or do the whole camp with them, but just, get some fresh eyes on, and maybe you disagree with everything that you're told, but at least you're getting honest feedback from people within the industry who aren't trying to make $1 off you at the time, I don't know if that's even possible. I'm not sure. You know more about how high level interpersonal boxing relationships work, but than I do. I'm just guessing, but I think more of a collaborative approach might be, it might be a bit of an ego check at times for them, but I think it ultimately would help them in the long run. You got to look at yourself in the mirror sometimes, even when you don't want to, and I think that's kind of where they are at the moment. At the bare minimum, not saying they have to split or it's over or retire, but certainly something's not working when he gets to the top level. So there needs to be addressed.
Yeah, I agree. And again, I'm not a mechanic, but that's a spark plug issue.
But you can fix any tractor.
I can fix any tractor. Massey Ferguson, John Deere, the whole lot, mate. I'll get them lowered like this. Yeah, but
Tony's from the country. If anyone hasn't picked up on that, so
part-time farmer. But absolutely, I think some fresh eyes on. When I say fresh eye, the question is: are his bad habits so ingrained that even fresh eyes won't help that?
Yeah,
but it's not going to hurt. It's not going to hurt to have someone go. Same thing. Keep that one up there when you're jabbing.
Yeah.
If you've done it for 100 years, it's going to be very hard to change. But I don't think there's any problem in just trying to tighten up. I don't think he's a million miles away, if that makes sense.
Not at all. Not at all.
It's just tightening up some of those little, let's face it, defensive flaws. He's a beautiful counter puncher. He's got great timing, and the only thing that I see similar to him with Kostya was his timing.
Yes, I'd agree.
Not his style, but his timing. And that's where he succeeds. But in terms of applying a game plan, as soon as Fundora went long, he didn't have an answer. He was just lunging in with punches. And it got worse round after round after round after round. No. There didn't seem to be a plan B to combat Fundora's length. And Fundora, before that, really didn't fight long at all. He used to fight in that middle range, bang. I think there was a version of Fundora they weren't expecting. But that's why you need to have a couple of other things, a couple of other, arrows in your quill. To try and combat that, because at the end of the day, the bloke's 6'6". He could easily go back to long boxing.
Toughest matchup in the sport, absolutely. But yeah, I totally agree with you, and I remember when I had Alfie DiCarlo on this pod many years ago now, and he said a couple of things in that, which I love his approach to it. I'm a huge Alfie DiCarlo fan. And he said a couple of things in that pod that have just stayed with me. And one of them, verbatim, he said, basics win fights. And we can see with Tim that a lack of basics can cost fights too. That's the other flip side of the coin. That's not me digging my heels in and trying to kick him while he's down. That's just looking at fighter A, fighter B, the silhouettes, and saying, oh, well, this guy drops his hands when he lunges in and got caught. This guy, when he throws a left hook, he sticks his chin out or whatever it may be.
Yep.
He does that. So the basics, the fundamentals aren't necessarily there. So, mate, I would love to see him go up and spend some time at Alfie DiCarlo's gym. You probably couldn't pick a better spot. Just with Alfie's style of training, his honesty seems to be universally respected, at least within Australia, from what I can tell. That might be a great way to start there. Again, not sure what their relationship is, but anyway, I'm kind of getting sick of piloting on Tim, which is not the intention. But, we talk about our fighters in depth when they win. We have to, the other side of the coin, we have to talk about them when they come up short as well, and if we try and do it in the most fairest way possible. But, it's going to be interesting to see where he goes from here. But great segue, Coxie, with Alfie DiCarlo, because we had Liam Paro back in action. Had an absolutely fantastic performance over Jonathan Navarro. Now, let me get that card up. What were you expecting from Liam heading into that fight, Tone? Were you expecting to see a nice, sharp version? I had no idea he was going up to 147 until the week of the fight as well.
Well, it was always a bit of a mystery bet because you don't know how people rebound from losses, and you certainly don't know how they're going to go moving up in weight. I was not shocked, but pleasantly surprised, if that makes sense. He looked very solid at the weight. Thought he boxed superbly, and broke his man down and did what you expect a fighter of that caliber to do. And if you look at the flip side, without going back to Tim Tszyu too much, you go former world champion who's now struggling at world level, and then you look at Liam Paro, who's copped the loss on the chin and moved up in weight and looked very tidy there, I thought. Your thoughts, Zach?
Yeah, I mean, I totally get what you're saying. I don't mean to try to disagree with you, but probably, Tim looked great in the Joey Spencer fight. And this was probably more of a Joey Spencer level with Liam and Jonathan Navarro, with respect. We haven't seen Liam back at that true world level yet, but the move up in weight surprised me. I didn't think Liam was big at 140, but you make that weight for almost 10 years and your body gets bigger and matures, it's going to get tougher. So in retrospect, I understand it. I thought he carried it well. Navarro didn't look like a big guy at welterweight though. It's going to be interesting, but in a wide open division with Boots moving up, Brian Norman seems to be probably the one that's going to take that mantle next as sort of the top guy. Another super young dude who's relatively inexperienced too. Going to be super interesting with that Devin Haney fight. I like Brian Norman though. He's a cool cat. I missed the Jin Sasaki fight. Still haven't seen it. God, I've missed so many fights lately. I've heard about it though. But so in that respect, I don't mind the move for Liam. I thought he looked great. He was landing that same shot, that looping left hand that he hit Brock Jarvis with. Yep. Which doesn't surprise me coming from Alfie. They drill things, and that's just a great example of Liam having, worked on a particular punch from a particular range a few years ago, and then when they thought it was relevant, bringing it back out and reapplying it to a different opponent. I mean, that's just excellent preparation, regardless of the level. You've still got to pull that off under the bright lights, and they were able to do it. And I thought Liam was fantastic. So
skill and drill, mate. Skill and drill. You're teaching the skills, and you drill it in on.
Exactly. So no, excellent. They're a world-class team for sure. But I was surprised in the weight, not necessarily the result, but just rap for Liam that he's back on the train, and potentially could go again before the end of the year. It's still a hell of a lot. What have we got? 4 months left. Yeah, yep. Probably could even get 2 in if he was listening to Anthony Cox. Hey, mate.
You, me, pub, car park now.
Yeah. But mate, what's the I'd have to get the rankings up, but there's probably not really anyone at welterweight for Liam domestically. I'm trying to think. Do you try and get a Jin Sasaki out here as sort of a measuring stick for how he went with Brian Norman? I don't know. I'm just kind of brainstorming. Do you have any sort of idea of a path moving forward for Liam from here at the new weight class?
No, well, I think the weight class is quite wide open, a little bit like middleweight in that regard. So there might be opportunities, whether it's Liam travelling overseas or better yet, getting an opponent to come over here. And Jin Sasaki coming off a loss would probably be bloody ideal. And we need to see more Japan versus Australia matches.
Yes.
There's history there. There's history
Absolutely.
there, and we'd love
it's
to
the same time zone. The travel should be relatively easy. Yeah. Oh, I'm thinking for the fighters, but yeah, for us too.
Nah, forget the fighters, mate. It's all about us.
Yes, exactly. I just mentioned that then, just sort of off a whim, but yeah, I like that idea.
But again, it translates well again with the time zone back to Japan as well. So it's not just at our end; it's at their end too. So
yeah. Absolutely, mate. No, but a fantastic comeback for Liam Paro. And in the co-main, we had Liam Wilson, had a 10-round decision win over Ayrton Osmar Jimenez. I can't say I was watching this fight extremely closely. I love Liam Wilson, Mr. Damage. He's all action. I do find it frustrating to watch him because I just think he's capable of so much more if he boxed first and stopped trying to be this brawling puncher. So we know he's capable of more. We've seen it. He just doesn't fight in. And again, what would I know? But I just think he would be more successful at the top level if he boxed first. So I have to admit, I did kind of zone out in patches, looking at the phone, all that type of thing. I didn't watch the full fight with 100% attention, but I did think he was very lucky to get that decision from the 60% of attention that I paid to it. I'm sure you paid much more attention than I did. What did you sort of make of the result when he got his hand raised?
To be honest, I probably did the same thing you did say. Probably kind of look. I mean, the question is again, where does he go from here? He's a tough motherfucker and can crack, but he can also box really well. And we've spoken about this plenty before, plenty of times on the pod before. As soon as he wears one on the chin, he goes into full warrior mode. He seems to be caught between two styles, knowing he can punch and knowing that if he cops one on the chin, he's just going to bite down on the mouthpiece and sort of brawl his way out of trouble or try to. And you look back at the Navarrete fight and you go, that should have been a world title win on the road. That should have been his crowning glory. Can he get back to that level again? Can he get back to a point where he can combine his boxing ability with his inherent toughness? And that's where the question mark is. I don't think anyone's quite sure of that. And again, having spoken to Liam a bunch of times, he's always said, oh, yeah, kind of got stuck into a brawl there, and he's almost sheepish about it. And I appreciate it. There's a genuine honesty about Liam Wilson, that he recognises his own flaws, but also in that hot-blooded moment, maybe doesn't always know what the best path through is.
Yeah. No, that's a great way to put it, mate. I just think at this point we've probably, and nothing's impossible, and people are always capable of evolving and implementing new things and all that type of thing. But it would seem at this point throughout Liam's career, we've seen him box a little bit, and when he does, he's pretty good at it. But we've seen him brawl a hell of a lot. So I think, and we haven't seen him box for a good few fights now.
Yep.
Like when he went forehead to forehead with Valdez, I was just like, oh, it's over. It's over. See you later. Yeah, I think he is what he is now. I fear it's a little too late. I feel like if the change was going to be made, it would have happened by now. Even though he's still relatively young in age, he's taken a lot of damage. Yeah, I think that's probably the version of Liam we're going to get, and whether or not he deserved that win, the cards were certainly wide. I didn't see it that wide, but again, I wasn't watching it with 100% intent. But yeah, I would like to see a rematch. I think that Argentinian bloke Jimenez deserves a rematch. You know, and again, he didn't necessarily fight in the most fan friendly style. People were saying, so you can't give him rounds, but that's incumbent on the opponent. If your opponent's moving away, like Canelo and William Skull, if your opponent's moving away from you, it's your job to go and cut off the ring and stop him moving. You know, you can't just go, oh, all right, I'll just walk around for 12 rounds to get an easy decision and then say, that's why I don't want to fight this guy. It's like, no, if he fights that way, it's your job with all I'm talking about Canelo now, with all your experience, you know, pro at 15, you're undisputed world champion, all this. It's your job to go and make him stop.
Your opponent doesn't have an obligation to stand there and be punched in the face, do they?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But anyway, so I wouldn't mind seeing a rematch, but there's absolutely zero chance that happens. But again, it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Liam Wilson, that is, from here on out. Both very interesting on both Liams for totally differing reasons, funnily enough. So we'll see how we go. But, Matt, I just wanted to jump into Floyd Masson. I know he's one of your favourites, and you've had a fair bit to do with him on the media side as well, who's had quite a pretty good year with the new team. Found himself in some pretty big spots on TV. Seems to have gelled really well with Blair Studley. What have you made of 2025 for Floyd Masson?
Well, look, I mean, me and Floyd both being 200-pounders, we got a little bit in common. No, I thought the Mastanek fight should have gone his way.
Yeah.
And so it was always going to be a bit of a steep climb back up the hill to get back into contention, despite the fact that I thought he won that like 8 rounds to 4 or even wider. He seems very happy with Blair Studley, which is a good thing. He's a wonderful kid. He's got a great sense of who he is and what he wants to get out of the game. And he might even be a bit too nice for the sport, if that makes sense. But he seems like he's got that his relationship with Blair is going great, and Blair's doing great things with him. So I'm rapt for him to have that kind of relationship with his trainer, because I think perhaps in the past maybe his previous trainers haven't worked for him.
Yeah.
Just in terms of him being such a quiet, relaxed guy, he needs someone who he can connect with, and I think he's found that in Blair.
Yeah. No, that's excellent. But yeah, mate, well, it's been such a great year for him. And another fighter, it's been a pretty good year for him for different reasons, and it's very hard to gauge. But Callum Peters, fair to say, had a couple of soft touches first up. All credit to those opponents getting in with such a highly, I think he's ranked number 1 in the world in the amateurs now, Callum Peters at 75. I believe that to be true. Don't quote me. But I thought he had a pretty good, not necessarily a step-up fight, but certainly the first test of his career, even though I favoured him heavily against Marcus Haywood. Like, Marcus Haywood's a tough dude. Callum Peters ran through him with ease. Did that quite impress me? Were you impressed, Cocksy, or do you just expect so much out of this guy that it was kind of whatever?
Well, here's the thing. You end up with these prospects who come into the pros and they've got a big promotional organisation behind them and they talk them up like this. And the flip side is you don't want them to fail. You want them to succeed, but they're being talked up before they actually get tested. And when I say tested, I mean tested on paper or whatever. No, I thought that was a very solid win. I thought there was a lot to like out of that, and that was his first real litmus test. So, yeah, very happy with that. And, as everything stands right now, the world's his oyster, but things can change overnight too, depending who they're matched with. But so yeah, a lot to like about him, and a little bit like a lot of prospects we see. They get talked up before they've actually achieved anything. But that was the first real proper solid achievement in the pro ranks that he's had, and I was very happy to see that.
Yeah. Obviously, it's still way too early to tell his full ceiling in the pros, but man, it's going to be an exciting ride. Well, we've bit of a theme of the pod so far has been sort of technical defensive flaws. Not saying he doesn't have any, but I'm sure the team's working on it and all that type of thing. But it's like maybe he knows the rules, and when he needs the basics, he'll bring them out. He just hasn't needed them yet, so we're not sure. But love, you got to love his activity. I know you're an activity fan. If you're not injured and you're fresh and you're not cut, get in and make a paycheck, and he's done that this year.
Keep going through, and it's harder. It's harder the more experience you get in the pros and the big fights to make and things like that. But yeah, now's the time to be in front of eyeballs, to be on TV, and to make a name for yourself, and drag through those fans who were with you since day dot. So he's certainly doing all that right.
Yeah. Absolutely, mate. And we'll look ahead just to a couple of fights before I want to have a chat to you about something you're working on, Tone. So the next card we've got coming up in Australia is on Wednesday, the 20th of August, headlined by Nikita Tszyu, who is fighting Lalzim Ismaili. We've also got
you'd be very familiar with.
Oh, big fan. Follow him on Insta. Never heard of the guy, with respect. Michael Zarafa's fighting Mikey Dahlman. We've got Brock Jarvis fighting Sam Beck. Ahmed Redder fighting Bruno Tarimo at super lightweight.
Yeah,
Bruno Tarimo at super lightweight. Okay.
Featherweight up to super lightweight. There you go.
There's actually a really fun fight on the undercard. I think might be fight of the night. Jacob Clenshaw and Isaiah Setti. That's got banger written all over it.
Could be over in two, mate.
Absolutely. Anything could happen in that fight. That's actually, I love that fight. Jacob Clenshaw is always in really good fights. There's a couple of other fights on there too. This card is a pay-per-view in Australia for $70.
Sorry, can you repeat that back to our American audience?
It is a pay-per-view in Australia for $70.
On a Wednesday night?
On a Wednesday night, a work night, a school night.
And what time will the main event be?
11:30. I don't know. PM. It's impossible to talk about this card without talking about that. But we'll stick to the fights. What we always thought, and with respect to Ismaili Nikita, with the hand injury and out a year and having a kid and all that type of thing, he was probably going to get a soft-ish kind of touch after the war with Mizudia that he had.
Yep.
I mean, Lalzim Ismaili, I've never seen him. He's 12-0. I can't imagine the powers that be at No Limit throwing him in with a killer. So I'm just making an assumption there, but I would imagine I'm probably right. Michael Zarafa is seemingly staying busy with a guy, Mikey Dahlman, who I tried to look up on YouTube. I could only find footage filmed from the crowd from his first fight. So I have no idea what to expect of Mikey Dahlman.
Did he bring a crowd?
I don't know if it was his or whoever the main event guy was that he was fighting on. I do not know. So I have no idea what to expect there. Brock Jarvis and Sam Beck, I think might be a good fight. I don't know where Brock Jarvis is these days after Thurman, really lit him up.
And that could happen again. I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean, just to grade the card and try to be as fair as possible, obviously you're in the Australian boxing industry. I'm a fan of it. We're very parochial and biased. But if this was a card in England with their level of fighters and it was a $70 pay-per-view, we'd be going, what the hell are these idiots doing over there? That is insane. I have to apply the same logic here. These fights are of mild intrigue at best, and that's with no disrespect to the fighters. I'm a huge Zarafa fan, but what is this fight? What's it for? Who was it? We don't know anything about these guys. I like Nikita Tszyu. I wish he would box more. But what the hell is this fight? How is Nikita Tszyu 10 fights in a pay-per-view headliner? Like,
If you said to
what are
me,
we?
Zach, if you said to me, who's the headliner of this card, I'd be going, well, I guess it's Tszyu because he's got the big family name.
Yeah.
But there's not a matchup on that card that you go, this is a headline event that deserves to be a headline event, let alone deserves to be a pay-per-view.
Yeah, oh, mate, it's just insane. So I went on and I looked up, right? So No Limit have held 6 events this year. Now they'll claim 7 because they claim Zoo Fundora as one of their promotions. That was a PBC show, so I'm discounting that. So on March the 1st, it was in conjunction with Ace Boxing. They put that free show on. Liam Wilson, Yusuf Dib 2 with John Manu and Jalen Tate, Floyd Masson. That was a free show.
See, that should be your paper. Not saying it should be a pay-per-view show, but out of the 2, that's the one that's a pay-per-view show.
Well, I don't think any of these fights should be pay-per-view.
No. I'm saying out of the 2 cards, if there was one that should have been, maybe that one. But yeah, pretty similar cards just in terms of matchups.
It's insane. So they started the year on the 1st of March with a free show. And look, are we being critical? Yes. But are we being critical of the biggest and best promoter in the country? That's what they say. Yes, we are. So when you're sitting at the top and you've got the best TV deal and you've got the media conglomerations with the newspapers and the reach that you have, you're sitting at the top. You're the AFL. You're the Australian cricket team. Every move you make is going to get scrutinised. So again, if this was a promotion overseas, we'd be doing the same thing. So we have to apply the same logic within our own borders as well. So their second show was the 12th of March. That was the pay-per-view with Keith Thurman and Brock Jarvis, Michael Zarafa and Basir A, which was a good performance by Zarafa. Mateo Tapia, Vorobev, Kira Rustin, Tongo. Sensational performance by Rustin, but hardly a fight that belongs anywhere near the pay-per-view level. Then they went straight into the April 6th pay-per-view. Tim Tszyu's return against Joey Spencer. Co-main event, Endry Saavedra versus Mikkel Nelson. Why? Okay. May 14th, next event, pay-per-view, Sam Goodman against, was it Jorge Vaca? I didn't write his first name down, apologies. Stefan Ivic and Tozi Vozijitsu for the Australian heavyweight title in the co-main. June 25th, the next show was free. It was a good show. Paro, Navarro, Liam Wilson, Jimenez, Vegas Larfield, Kira Rustin, Callum Peters. Excellent. August 20th, the 6th show of the year, another pay-per-view, the one we're speaking about now, Nikita Tszyu, Lolzum Ismaili. So that's 6 shows, and they're about to be doing their 4th pay-per-view. Now, none of these fights should be pay-per-view at all. But if anything, it should be the other way around.
Yeah.
And this is my fundamental problem with pay-per-view, and this is not me being a tight ass. It is to a degree, but it actually isn't. Who does pay-per-view benefit? Someone prove me wrong. I would bet anything that none of the fighters are getting a cut of these pay-per-view sales. So all they're doing, and I believe Steve Farhood, this was his quote, boxing's the only sport in the world that takes its biggest and best events and shows them to the least amount of people. Like, all No Limit want to do is make boxing up with rugby league and rugby union and up with rugby. They want to build it. But you're doing the opposite of what the mainstream sports that you want to be are. Why don't the NRL make round 13 a pay-per-view? Why don't they make the preliminary final a pay-per-view? You know, why don't actual real sports do pay-per-views?
In fairness, if they made Collingwood versus Hawthorn a pay-per-view, I would have been happy with that. Less people would have seen it.
Okay, fair enough. But you would have been $70 out of pocket as well. And sad.
Oh, no, I wouldn't have watched it, mate. I just would have.
Okay. But do you know what I mean? It's like, it's so archaic. And someone show me the books, please. I would love to go and sit down and have a look at them for a day. Explain to me why these illogical decisions get made generation after generation after generation. Pay-per-view and the paywalls is what's stopping this sport from growing. And all the fighters are probably thinking, I'm worth it. I put all this work in. The fans should be wanting to pay to watch me. And I guess that's how they if I was them, I would probably think the same way too. But pay-per-view is hurting your exposure. It's hurting your following. It's hurting your sponsorship opportunities. And you're not benefiting from it in any way, I would imagine. I'd be shocked if anyone was.
Let me ask you this, Zach. Who do you reckon is buying a Nikita Tszyu pay-per-view?
Not me.
apart from his family, you know, like
Yeah. Would 5,000 people buy it? Honestly, I doubt it.
Zarafa doesn't have a massive fan base.
Yeah.
He's been around for a long time, but what's the selling point of this? To put your hand into your pocket and go, here's $70, so I can watch Nikita Tszyu fight some random, and the rest of the card the whole way through. I understand from a business perspective that No Limit have to provide a certain amount of pay-per-view shows to Fox Sports, but is this the right show? And that's what I would question.
Yeah, I just don't think any of this stuff should be pay-per-view. Like, I've come to the conclusion, I said this a couple of episodes ago, which at the moment was like probably 9 months ago. I haven't done one for ages, but like, it can't be No Limit making these decisions. I was always blaming them. I'm not that smart, and I think I've nailed it. I'm pretty sure they're smarter than me. So if that's what I think, I'm pretty sure they know that too. I think it's Foxtel. I think you just hit the nail on the head. I think Foxtel have said, okay, as a part of this deal we're going to sign with you,
correct,
a certain proportion of these shows have to be pay-per-view, no matter what, go and sell it. Right? And that is just so wrong. It's killing. It's not killing the sport. The sport's actually in a very healthy place, but it's holding it back. It's handicapping it. You're putting weights on the ankles. You know what I mean? It's you're not letting it grow to its fullest potential. The way you grow anything is by putting it in front of the most eyeballs possible. You know, and especially in this day and age with all this free stuff and apps and you know, like you can pretty much watch any sport you want for free except boxing in Australia. You know, and I really thought all these years, like I'm going to put you on the spot. When was Cotto Margarito 2?
That'd have to be
2010.
I was going to say late 2000s. Yeah,
yeah. I think it's 2010 or 2011. Whenever that was, that was when I was just about qualified. And once I got qualified, I was like, hell yes, I'm getting Foxtel. I'm watching all the fights now. And I thought, I've got to do.
Was that you working with Children's Check?
Yeah. Yeah, it took me a couple of times to pass, but I got there in the end. But, you know, and I thought, I was 22 or something. I'm like, yep, I'm going to do what my moral obligation. I'm a boxing fan. I have to put my hard-earned money and support this sport because if I don't, who will? And I did that probably until for 12 or 13 years. And what I noticed, and this was before No Limit were even a thing. This is probably when they were still running around on a rugby field. And what I noticed was eventually I was like, man, I'm just paying thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars over this 12 and 13 years. And all that's happening is they're asking more of me. The price is going up and they're doing more pay-per-view. So the sell is, you have to support this sport. You know, if we're ever going to get bigger and onto bigger platforms, we need all the support. Well,
and that's happened.
Hey, I put in a decade and I'm not doing it anymore. I'm keeping my money, you know, especially when, and this is no disrespect to the fighters. I want to watch the fights, but I'm just sick of forking out thousands of dollars over all those years and the same problems just getting worse. I can't continue to fund a system I fundamentally disagree with and believe is a negative for the fighters and the industry itself. And so I'm out. I'm not telling anyone else what to do, but I'm out. I'm like, I'll pay for a pay-per-view if I think it's worth it, but I can tell you it's not going to be happening anytime soon.
And we've spoken about this before, and we've been to the fights together and things like that. I think it was the late 2000s. I was at my local pub, believe it or not, and and they'd bought a package from Foxtel to get every pay-per-view event in Australia because they got 20% off. There was something like 48 pay-per-views that year. 48.
Yeah.
And that was all your mundane fights, your green fights. When Holyfield fought Valuev in Germany at 5 a.m. when the pub wasn't even open, that was part of the package. Like just random, random shit. And I kind of worked it out. I went, well, the difference on price, you know, they price every event separately, but I figured out it was something like 38 or 48K or something like that this pub had paid a lot of over the course of a year for fights they couldn't even show because they're on at 5 o'clock in the morning.
Mate, that's a lot of pots over the bar.
And I did my bit.
Oh, no doubt.
But I said to Fish and Chip Billy that you're better off just asking me what's a good fight to put on. Manny Pacquiao, Miguel Cotto. These are the people that are going to put bums on seats, but you shouldn't be forking out this sort of money because there's a 20% discount because they're going to be on at all hours of the night. And then I could be there on a Sunday afternoon and there's no one in the joint. There's just me and a few locals, and the locals are betting on the dogs or whatever, or the harness racing, like not putting a single bum on a seat to watch the boxing.
Yeah.
And I'm the only person there watching it because I'm a boxing tragic. But
mate, I got a story for you.
Far away.
And thanks for sharing that. And you're probably not going to believe me, but I swear to God, this is true. Tim Tszyu, Tony Harrison.
Yep.
Could not have been more fired up for it. I thought it was the perfect fight at the perfect time. Yep. I loved it. The card was great. Again, shouldn't have been a pay-per-view, but that's neither here nor there. It was. I said, I'm not paying for it. So me and my old man and I, we went down to the Royal in Upper Gully. Funnily enough, was the first venue I ever went to as a 12-year-old and saw my first ever fight live, which was Kosher Zoo Zab Judah. So very nostalgic venue.
I thought it was going to be Fitz punching out someone in the car park.
I was home in bed by then, mate. Right, so we're going back to the same venue, great place. I thought, and I remember that day, 2001, the joint was packed. It was shoulder to shoulder. It was insane. Atmosphere, it was wild. I'll never forget it. So we go back to watch Tim Tszyu, Tony Harrison, the biggest fight of Kostya's son's career to that point.
Yep.
The card was loaded. It was really good. I think Hardman and Roland Murdoch were on that card, on the prelims. It was a good card. I think Sam Goodman, Reis Aleem was on that. Really good card. Really good card. I was pumped for it. Mate, I swear to God, Fitz and I sat on a table directly in front of the big screen, and there was 5 other people there. So there were 7 patrons for the entire card. And I was 35 at the time, and I was the youngest by about 30 years.
There you go.
It was just 5 old dudes and my old man and me. Like, young kids don't want to watch this sport. And that's only one venue in one town in one part of the country. I get it. And I could be lying. I'm not. It happened. I was there. But, and so anyway, that just illustrates the point. They're not even going to the pub to watch it because the sport has become so inaccessible when you're doing pay-per-views on a Wednesday night that kids and young blokes and apprentices aren't going to fork out the money for that. So they're not going to watch it. So then when the big events do come, they're not following it because they're already distracted or they've gone to another sport that's more easily accessible. So it's like pay-per-view is just bad on every level. It has to change. And the thing that I thought all those years of me paying, and I'm sure people have paid for 30 years and they'll continue to pay. And I'm not trying to tell anyone else what to do. I'm just explaining my position. But, I thought Australia had the unique opportunity of being having a pretty strong, rabid fan base for such a small fringe sport with very you told me that from any one time there's only about 300 registered pros in the country and a handful of promoters. But for such a small country and a small talent pool, we do have a very sustainable industry. So I always thought Australia is the perfect market that could change away from a pay-per-view model, or it's small enough and strong enough to be able to try different things. Ace Boxing have been a great example of that with their deal with 7plus. It ultimately didn't continue to run, but they tried. We really could try something. And I'm pointing the finger at Foxtel specifically. I'm saying, forget this pay-per-view model. It doesn't work. It might line your pockets temporarily and probably not even with that much cash. It probably just pays for the outlay that you've paid the rights for. You get your money back or whatever. Invest in this sport. Give No Limit a year. Give them 2 years. Give them 3 years and put everything on Fox Sports for free, but still give it your media push. And then see where this sport can go there. That's what no one's ever done. All they do is they take the short money and the easy way out and put it on pay-per-view. And that doesn't lead itself to growth. I want them to get some balls and actually invest in the sport.
And I wouldn't even mind if they went, okay, pay-per-view if you want to watch it live, and then put it on Foxtel for free a week later.
That'd be brilliant. Yeah.
That'd be the nice sort of medium there to me. If they want to take a slow transition across to a non-pay-per-view model and then start looking at the numbers from there. But the way it's going at the moment, and it was terrible in the Green and Mundine days where you had that many pay-per-views and everything was on pay-per-view. But the market's changed and Foxtel need to adapt to that. Maybe that change happens now that DAZN have taken over Foxtel. When that comes into play, don't know. But
hope so.
Yeah, fingers crossed, mate.
Bloody oh. All right, that's our pay-per-view rant for this episode. We'll do one on the next episode, though, for sure. We always do.
There's one every time, mate.
But good luck to the fighters competing on that card, nonetheless. But so mate, let's look ahead. Oh, actually, I've got a good one for you. This is going to be a blast from the past, but there is a fight happening on the 23rd of August from Lagos, Nigeria, featuring a man who hasn't fought since 1999, who is still undefeated, with a much maligned history.
Geez, you've put me
more
on
so
the
outside
spotty.
of the ring. It's pretty tough, I'm not going to lie.
Australian boxer?
No. An African boxer.
An African boxer.
He might be from Nigeria. I would have to look that up.
Harry Simon?
Inoue Ibuchi's back.
Oh, of course.
Inoue Ibuchi has not fought in 26 years, and he's back, man.
Giddy up, sweetheart.
So, shout out to the legend Tim Boxeo if anyone wants to watch it. Tim's your man. He'll have that for
Speaking
sure.
of Tim Boxeo, I heard that his favourite man, Chris Lovejoy, lost on the weekend.
Oh, no. Damn it.
Shattered.
Tim will be devastated. Oh, well. Head up, Tim. Back on the horse, brother.
Still got Ike, mate. We still got Ike.
Yeah, absolutely. Nah, shout out to Tim. What a legend. Glad he's back doing his thing too. Gone for too long. But, mate, we'll jump in just a couple of fights at the end. Both on the 14th of September. What a banger of a day. Got the big one. I never thought it would actually happen, but it's signed, and I'm kind of getting a little bit excited for it. And guess what? It's not pay-per-view. Unbelievable. What a concept. Canelo's defending the undisputed super middleweight title against Terence Crawford, going up 3 weight classes. Mate, as we're sort of getting closer, we're a month out, is your intrigue starting to sort of surface more so than it was? I remember talking to you earlier, and I was very much the same. We were kind of like, what is this fight? But as it gets closer, are you getting a little bit more excited?
Nah, look, dude, if I can't pay $70 for the fight, not interested. No,
well, you can give me $70 if you want.
Oh, sure.
Replicate the feeling. I'll rip you.
That'd take me winning $700 on the punt, by the way. But which is, yeah, I am. I've warmed to this fight. I really have. I think Canelo is tipped over past his best a little bit. The weight thing still kind of bothers me a little, but I reckon it's the right timing for Crawford, if that makes sense. I'm not saying he wins it, but I think the weight difference will be negligible come fight time, just based on where they are in their careers. It'll be interesting. And as we said about Canelo versus William Scull, he couldn't cut off the ring against him and just followed him around.
Mm.
And Crawford's the wrong guy to do that to. If you're not able to cut that distance and make things happen, then it's a very open fight to my view. How about yourself, Zach? Where are you sitting on it now?
Man, I'm really in two minds. I see both schools of thought, and I agree with both. I agree with that point of view that at this point in their careers, Terence Crawford's the more highly skilled boxer, but he barely fights. I totally agree that Canelo's, I wouldn't say he's dipped, but he's plateaued. He's going to continue to be what he is until he inevitably does dip. Still pretty darn good, though. He certainly hasn't been lighting the world on fire probably since the Caleb Plant fight. Was that 2021 maybe? 2022? Something like that. So I definitely see both sides. I agree with the people that say that, Crawford struggled with Madrimov and the size and was getting hit with those right hands. I kind of look at that a little bit more as Crawford being like, who's this Madrimov dude? All right, what? I got to fight him for a fourth title? Okay. I think it might have just been a little bit more of, with respect to Madrimov, Bud taking it lightly. And just wanting to get a fight in another year past the career best performance against Spence. And then I also think of Canelo, and I'm like, what is the motivation for him? And I rarely kind of look at these angles. I always just try and do everything, silhouette, how the styles match up, recent performances in the ring, the stuff that we can see and we can actually judge. We don't know training camps. We don't know how they feel personally. We don't know what's going on in their head, but we can see what they do in the ring. That's all we can go off, which is kind of unfair. I get it why fighters don't like it, but that's all we can go off. But I reckon with Canelo, he seemed to be so steadfast against taking this fight when it was being mentioned, before he initially agreed to it. And I'm thinking, if you're that against it, you've got to convince yourself that there's a reason to take it.
Sure.
And I reckon that he's thinking, well, the last time I fought a smaller guy that was the better boxer, I didn't put the foot down and I didn't go after him, and that was Floyd.
Yep.
He was a deer in the headlights the whole time, and that was Floyd's greatest ability. Floyd did that to him. But Canelo never, as the Americans would say, sold out. Canelo never put it all on the line and just went after him. He tried to work his way in nice and cute behind the jab and throw combinations, and he never went for it. I reckon this is kind of his opportunity with Bud, if he's losing a boxing match, to prove that he can go for it in that respect. Maybe sort of set aside some of those demons. I mean, it's pretty hard to have demons when you're sitting on about 400 mil or whatever, but I'm just trying to think if there's something in his brain, because he seems so not motivated to take it, even though he knew it was going to be a lot of money. So maybe there's an angle for him where he's like, all right, I'm going to go out there. I'm going to let everyone know I'm a super middleweight and this guy's a welterweight, really put it on this dude and make it physical. But then again, he didn't do that to William Skull either. So I kind of just threw a whole lot at you there, Tone. I didn't even really answer a question or make a point, but I don't know. The fight's happening. We'll see what happens.
No, exactly. And I don't mind the fight. It's two of the biggest names in the sport. And you got onto something there about the lack of activity from Crawford too. And Crawford's not a young bloke. What is he, 35, 36 or something like that?
He's older than Canelo. I think he's 38.
So how... I
could be wrong.
Jumping up... You've had one fight at 154. Now you're moving up another 2 weight classes after being, coming through as a super featherweight and a lightweight and junior welterweight and things like that, and welterweight. 4-division champ, but where's the ceiling there weight-wise? And this is why it's got a little bit of intrigue for me, is that we really don't know. We really don't know if it's going to be the fresher, smaller bloke or the more experienced, battle-tested bloke, for want of a better term, who's going to come out on top. And the closer this fight gets, the more I kind of like it. I could be one-sided either way. Could be Crawford outboxing the ears off Canelo, or it could be Canelo's size that makes the difference. I'm a little bit like you. I've swung left and right on this one like a dunny door, and still aren't quite sure where I sit on this one. And if you ask me the 2 days before the fight, I'll probably go back and forth and get the wrong decision.
Oh, me too. Yeah, it's kind of one of those ones for me where I'm not really like emotionally invested in it. I don't really have a horse in the race, but I'm definitely going to tune in and see what happens. I'm just not particularly fired up about it either way, you know what I mean? But yeah, it is what it is. It's happening. But on that same day, so this will be Sunday night from Japan. What a doubleheader. We've got Naoya Inoue fighting, defending his two undisputed world champions fighting on the same day. That's crazy. Defending his super bantamweight, undisputed super bantamweight world title against Murodjon Akhmadaliev. Yoshiki Takaya defending his bantamweight title against Christian Jimenez on the undercard too. Now, this is a fight that people have been clamoring for. I've never really got it. I'm not saying I'm not an Akhmadaliev fan, but he lost to Tapales. So then Tapales won the titles and fought Inoue. I mean, if Akhmadaliev beat Tapales, Inoue would have fought him. I don't get this sort of ducking angle that Eddie Hearn's trying to put out there. Inoue is clearly not that type of cat. Yeah, I'm pumped on the fight. I think, again, I haven't even seen Inoue's last fight against Cardenas. That's how many fights I've missed lately. So maybe I would change my mind if I saw that, because he did get knocked down, didn't he? Inoue. Yeah. But if it's the Inoue I think it's going to be, I like him big, as I do against basically anyone. But yeah, I know you're a massive Murodjon Akhmadaliev fan, Tone. Is this fight too late, or is it at the right time for you?
I'm a big MJ fan because I think he's fundamentally sound. I think he does a lot of the small things right, which is something we've spoken about tonight on the pod. In a way, well, you can't back against him. You just can't. And he's been down before, and he still comes back and wins fights. I think MJ gives him a tough fight, and maybe even drops him in the early going. But I just don't think he has quite the activity level that's required to beat such a dynamic puncher as Inoue.
Yeah. But mate, what a day, eh? Sunday the 14th. That's a banger of a day.
It's always a good day to be a boxing fan, mate.
No worries, mate. Well, I reckon that'll be around about when the next pod is, somewhere around there. Maybe the week of, something like that. Knock on wood, obviously, with my horrible consistency at the moment. But, Tone, we'll just finish up, mate. But I'm really excited. I asked you if I could ask you about this, because you've given me the all clear. So if this audio and video just abruptly gets edited right now, people will know why. I've been told to take it out. But we've hinted at it over the last couple of years.
It's been a while, hasn't it?
But a very significant project that you have put thousands and thousands of hours and blood, sweat, and tears into.
Maybe even dozens.
Yeah, a lot. A mountain of work, unbelievable. You've shared a sort of a lot of the. That kind of sounds a bit weird to say, but like your journey along the way, So I've been able to read a couple of snippets here and there, and that type of thing, and you filled me in on the background of how you've been working on it, and I just can't even imagine even taking on something this big and this extensive. But you've done it, mate, and it's sort of almost done. So I'll throw it over to you, mate. What have you been working on the last couple of years?
Just chipping away on a little book.
Okay.
Couple of little scribblings.
Okay.
Yeah, no, look, it's a book about Aussie boxing in the late 70s and early 80s. It sort of sits between the tail end of the Lionel Rose era through to the Jeff Fennick era. So a lot of, I guess, forgotten stories. So I've interviewed a lot of boxers, from Barry Michael to Lester Ellis to Steve Axel to Frank the Tank Ropus, to put this book together, and it's been a long time coming. Let's be honest. There's been a lot of two steps forward, one step back sort of thing. But we're finally getting close. I've got the front cover printed, and it's called the Brawl at the Sydney Opera House. Which Aussie boxing fans will remember with Alex Temelkov and Kenny Salisbury and Sharky Raymond as the referee, and it ended up in an all-in brawl, the first and only time that the boxing was held at the Sydney Opera House. So yeah, I'm quite excited about it. It's been a fun project to work on. even if it has been a little bit frustrating at times with the stop-start nature of it. But yeah, I'm looking forward to getting it out there, and yeah, hopefully people enjoy it.
So this is a difficult question, but do you have like a potential sort of release, period that you can kind of you're hoping for or working towards, or is all that sort of still to be decided?
Look, at the end of the day, it's just going to come down to how many hours I can put into the manuscript's finished, and I've just got to do all the little bits and pieces around the edges, writing an introduction, writing the back cover blurb. I've got the artwork done and things like that. So I'd be hopeful it's out later this year.
Oh, just in time for Christmas.
Indeed.
Oh, he's a pro. How good is that? Well, yeah, Tony, I'm super excited for it. I'm glad the cat's out of the bag, because I'm sure people, not only just me, tons of people are going to be Aussie boxing fans. This is a book for us, by one of us. This is incredible. So I just want to reiterate that you've let me on a little sneak peek of just the effort that you've gone to, and the research, and the kilometers you've traveled. Also, a lot of those interviews were in person. Mate, it's just, I couldn't even imagine undertaking something. And I know you've done an incredibly thorough, detailed job, and you've done the fighters and the participants and the officials and the sport a true credit. And from the little parts that you've been lucky enough to share with me, I know that you've presented everything in the correct light that it should be, and represented that era. The way it should be, because it was a golden era. And that certainly reflects it in your writing, mate. So I'm super pumped for it. Yeah, I'm glad it's coming towards the end, because I could tell there was a little bit of frustration there along the way. But, mate, if it was easy, everyone would do it, and it's incredibly difficult, and that's why you're the man for the job. So exciting times ahead, mate. So make sure you keep us posted with a potential release date. But I might have to pick up a few for a couple of Christmas presents. That's going to be perfect this year.
Why not, mate?
No worries. All right, Tone, we'll finish it up there, mate. Number 25, you've done it. On to 26.
Book it in, son.
All right, so thanks, mate.
No worries. Bye.
All right, guys, and that was episode 74, and my chat with the legend, the Aussie Boxing Scribe himself, Anthony Cox, making his 25th all-time appearance on the TUSC Pod. Man, the clubhouse leader, by a mile. That was awesome. So much fun. Always have a ball and learn a lot when I'm getting the fortunate opportunity to talk to Anthony and pick his brain about boxing. He's one of the good guys of the sport. As always, the links to follow along with Anthony's work are in the description of this episode. So all you have to do is click away, and there couldn't be a better time, because we've hinted for quite a few years that Anthony has been diligently and tirelessly working on a pretty amazing project. And from what I understand, although there is still a little bit of water to go under the bridge yet, we've never been closer to the finish line. So that's a bit cryptic, but I would say if you haven't followed along with Anthony and you're interested in this particular project, I would say now would be a great time to get on board. And yeah, you would really be supporting one of the good guys of the sport, and someone who's been incredibly generous with their time and knowledge to not only me, but to a ton of people in the local boxing scene and globally too. So yeah, shout out to Cocksy. He'll definitely be back on again in the future. And yeah, you guys will be able to listen to him again, no doubt, on this here pod. So guys, we literally had to pull the cobwebs down, wipe the dust off the microphone, all that stuff, whatever metaphor you want to use. It's been a while, 4 months. So yeah, guys, a totally unintended break. Yeah, nothing bad happened or anything like that. Yeah, all very much first world problems, just in the middle of a renovation and, stuff in storage, bloody stuff all over the joint, staying with my parents in the interim. Yeah, again, not complaining, all first world problems, but yeah, essentially it was just busting my ass every weekend for the last couple of months, yeah, trying to get the renos done, which meant working after work and Saturdays and Sundays and that type of thing. So really the reason for not doing the pod, guys, is I've missed so many fights. There's so many fights I haven't watched. Like, I still haven't even seen Inoue and Ramon Cardenas. Inoue is like my favorite fighter. I haven't even seen his last fight yet. So I was like, man, how can I host a boxing pod when I literally haven't even seen the fights? So yeah, like I said, guys, it's first world problems. I'm definitely not complaining, but I just had other things I had to prioritize. But it looks like things are coming to a close on that front. So hopefully, I'm going to be getting back to a more regular boxing viewing timetable, if that makes sense, which is basically just watching fights every weekend. That's what I want to get back to. So as long as I'm watching the fights, guys, I'm keen as hell to get back on the pod with some more regularity. And I just want to shout out a couple of people that sent me messages and emails, and a couple of people from overseas actually too, which blew my mind. That we're just wondering what was up with the pod, if it was finished, if it was coming back. I didn't even really think anyone would notice, to be totally honest. So for people to take some time out of their day and message and send through and just ask what's up. We're keen to get the pod back. What's going on? Man, that meant the world to me. I really didn't even think anyone had noticed. So to those people that reached out, massive thank you. You certainly lit a fire under my ass and got me pumped for the back end of the year and really try and finish strong after that unintended break. But sometimes you just got to prioritize certain other things, but now we're back. Now we prioritize the box the way it should be. So, guys, if you want to get in contact with me, you can send me an email at TUSCPod@gmail.com. That's TUSCPod@gmail.com. If you want to throw a tweet at me, you can do that at delivery_man2. Also got the TUSC Pod Insta if you want to jump on there, but as I always say, I just post when there's a new ep. So, not like super groundbreaking content or anything like that, guys. But if you want to jump on, you certainly can there. So, guys, this weekend, massive, massive good luck to the Ghost, Sam Goodman. God, man, imagine if we can get another world title on Australian soil before the year's out. That would be so amazing. So a massive, massive good luck to Sam and the rest of the team over in Saudi Arabia on the weekend. And guys, most importantly, enjoy the fights. Hopefully, I'll be talking to you in a couple of weeks. We'll see how we go. Fingers crossed. But I'll chat to you then.
Well, let's travel. May add up the change. Living like there's no tomorrow. Then tomorrow came. Going all out. I was living like there's no tomorrow. Then tomorrow came. Got the wake-up call, laughing through the window frame.